Yeah,
So guys, I want you to do that.
He's in charge. He's in
Follow
charge.
this
You know?
field 100 miles.
But look what he accomplished, Joe.
Hey, man, welcome everybody. It is Legends of MPRC. And man, dude, can I do it? Can I do it, Matt? Can I do it? Can I do it? I'm gonna try to do it.
Do it.
Here it is. It's the Legends of MPRC with I'm Kidd Sims. He's Matt Howson, and welcome to Webb RC Videos. Man, well, that was the best I could do.
Hey, man, that's pretty good. Listen,
You know,
there's times where Tim and I redo the beginning of the show a few times because either I just start rambling as he goes to start saying it. Like I've intentionally like messed him up. So
Yeah.
like for anybody that's listened to like some of the past ones we've just done, where I look at him, we're like, yeah, you're regretting this, aren't you? Bringing me back.
man, so I am as giddy as this. I mean, this is like, so I've been listening to this man for ever since I've been in MPRC. I went back and listened to all of him and Tim Smith's broadcast and podcast. If you haven't done that, do yourself a favor. Go back and listen to all the podcasts from the very first one. And then, but you can't skip over, I believe it's December 2017. You go in there and you find basically the birth of the MPRC, where we had all the guys, a bunch of the guys that were there from the beginning, sit around and talk about all the original rules. Now, I've made several posts on this and trying to get everybody to go in there and really listen to this podcast, because a lot of the guys are, coming in there, been only been in it a couple of months, 6 months to a year, have probably haven't a clue where this, sport, hobby, however we want to call it now. I keep calling it, I'm trying to call it a sport when at this point, I think we're a sport, but
hey, it's scale motorsports at the end of the day.
Sports. You can
I'm
do
living
it
with
hobby,
it.
but at this level, most of us are doing it as a sport. But man, so and you were the guy in the room where this was all happening. I mean, man, to be a fly on the wall in that room, with Tim talking with John Schultz, you had Tyler Zappadil, you had Todd Sereno. Who am I forgetting? You tell me who I'm forgetting.
There was Bob Warham was in there.
Bob Warham, yeah.
Man, I know I'm even leaving out a few people, not intentionally by any stretch of the imagination, but that you're right. Like I love the idea of it from the word go, because I was building a prepped track car, you know what I mean? And I have a plus spot that's sketchy, goodish enough to run it on.
Yeah.
So the idea of this always tickled me, you know what I mean? And it really did, because, like that way, like we're going back before we really started doing it, like RCDRL, they had a class, a street eliminator class. It was very, very similar base, but it was very restrictive on their rules and, what they ran it for and everything. So we, being us, because we can't do anything just, small, we gotta go big. Yeah. And those guys went out one night and actually no prepped with their track cars after they lost their track. And I was there on like a Facebook Messenger call while it was going on, and those cars got messed up badly, very badly. And that's what kind of pushed us to really take off with it. Tyler had built, a street eliminator, so he really kind of fostered the idea and, kind of kept pushing it. And he always did really cool scale stuff with it. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I think Tyler was one of the inspirations where he pushed me to start really. That's, I mean, actually, be honest with you, a lot of the stuff that he was doing really kind of got me, because that was where I liked it. The making the scales, the cars look scale. You know, I almost, you know, didn't care if they went fast because they look cool. And then now I'm paying the price here, you know, trying to make them go fast now. But yeah,
And that's better than hey, at least you were doing something. I was literally sitting here waiting to build a car.
right, yeah. So man, like I said, yeah, and y'all and that whole show, the like again, if you haven't listened to the show, it's December. I can't remember the actual day, but it's the one of the shows. If you go back and scroll the TSR podcast show, it's December 2017, or December 2017. I think it even says outlaw rules or MPRC rules or something like that. And
I feel like I should be doing what I do with Tim usually, which is Googling.
Yeah,
right. Let me look it up.
And go back and listen to it, and you can hear the birth of this, and not only you get to hear the birth, but you get to hear why they wanted rules, and you know where they wanted them, and you know the thought process behind it. It was a really good show. And then, you know, like I said, it went on from there, and y'all started your own little club. And then shortly after that, y'all started the Facebook page, or Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler did that because Tyler literally, we had a little Facebook group. He sends a message and he goes, should we start a Facebook page? Because this thing seems like it's getting a little heated. And it was like, yeah, let's do that right away. Oh, geez. Yeah, I can't find it that quickly. All right, I won't keep looking. I'll get occupied doing that. But no, I definitely encourage people to go back and listen. Because you know we
go listen, especially if you're new to this, and you know, a lot of us have been in here. I started in 2020, at the beginning of the year, about the time that COVID hit. We started hitting really heavy with COVID in March, you know, and stumbled across a guy in Canada building one of these building one. It was a hobby shop. I wish I remember the name of it, but and you know, they build one out of an old Slash car. So I sit there and I wrote down every part number that they showed me how to do, got on the interweb and ordered everything, and built my first car. And of course, when I pulled the trigger the first time, it went about 6 feet, hooked right, and went flipping into the neighbor's yard. I thought, my wife said, "Well, that was fun. What's next?"
Hang on, we're not done with that yet.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hey, I still have in the pits of the compound behind me, I still have the original Traxxas like chassis I was gonna start building a car with.
Nice.
And it wasn't that I never attempted to or anything like that, but I did, like, you know, it just, life happened, and then COVID, you know.
And well, speaking with life, so I didn't hear much about I know you got to do some track racing. You know, you came down and spent some listening to the podcast. Basically, I'm going off of that information. You got to come down and you know, Tim and Todd set a car and let you pull a one cell car, pull the trigger on one of those, and
that was our Vegas trip. We that, you know, so my wife and I, we had went to Vegas once before, and we wanted to go back again because there was still there's you can go to Vegas a bunch of times and not do the same thing twice. That's the reality of it, and it's an experience every time you go. So we decided to go for a second time. And, you know, because we had planned it well enough, both Tim, Todd, and even Christopher Patterson joined them. He hung out with all of us. What a weekend we had. But yeah, we went one day and did some racing, and pretty sure there were maybe one or two makeshift kind of street eliminator outlaw cars there.
Oh, cool.
If I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure somebody had a big drag car there. I think. I think. I got to say, yeah, because that's the only place I would have actually seen one in person. Pretty sure it was in the back of the van. Anyway, yeah, Todd put his car down. He goes, "Here, Matt, you're going to make a pass." And I looked at him like,
Say goodbye to the car.
"Do you value this thing?" And he goes, "I don't care, man. You're going to send it." So, yeah, the rest is history. I pulled the trigger. I didn't stay in my own lane, but I went A to B and I didn't crash it.
Hey.
So, and that was no prep. That wasn't a prep surface at all. That's when we were still goofing around with the idea of no prep in track cars.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Right.
So when did you get a chance to, in Canada, build your own car and actually do an NPRC style race?
You ready?
Yeah.
So I literally got a chassis. We went to Oklahoma in May, right? With Super Chips.
Yep.
I want to say I had the chassis in my hands end of March.
Really?
April. A Chad at CJC rushed it to get it to me because Yeti was pestering him, saying, "Hey, get Matt his chassis." And that was like the worst thing to do ever because I'm the world's biggest procrastinator. So the car sat here while I kind of put parts on it here and there and, flirted with the idea of putting it together, and I actually didn't really get to go time until maybe a week before Super Chips in the car.
Really?
The first time it ever seen a hit was at Super Chips.
Nice.
So that was my first official like NPRC based hit.
And you, I mean, if I remember correctly, you popped off a 2.0 your first round out or something like that.
I don't recall what I ran. I would have to go back and look.
I know
How did my round go?
First
round. Oh, I raced AJ's dad, Archie Marasco.
Yeah.
And I believe in that one, it was actually Yeti says it was a 191.
Nice.
So that was impressive. So that was a couple of hits in. The car definitely had some massaging between there and when it did that. But that tune was definitely courtesy of Ian.
Yeah.
He's my hookup for my spicy tunes.
Yeah. All right, so let's go back. So when you and Tim, way back, it was 2016 or no, 15? Was it 2015 when y'all started? Am I thinking?
Oh yeah, 2015, man. It's been that long already.
So I mean, man, how was that conversation when he just? How did Tim get to know you? Let's start there.
Well, I think we said the story a few times, but I don't mind going over again because it to me it is the coolest story in the world for me personally because of my involvement. So we got to go way back to when I started the MBM podcast. It was just me and a bunch of my buddies interviewing industry people, and I was only a few episodes in, maybe 4 or 5, and Tim reached out saying, "Hey, my name's Tim Smith. I really like your podcast. I'd love to come on one time and talk about RC." I'm like, okay, cool. And it didn't click in my head, right? I'm like, cool, I'd be down for that. Who are you? In my head, I'm going, who the hell is this guy? Tim Smith. It's like just a generic, like I hate being like, you know what I mean? But so at first in my head, I'm like, yeah, okay, bud.
Yeah.
We'll have you on right away. Now, here's fast forward to now. He still hasn't officially been a guest on the MBM podcast. So,
well, hey, he eventually he'll have some goals and he'll get he'll reach the status where he can qualify for that.
Worst thing ever. So him and I get talking a little bit, and he sends me a few links of some of the things he's done in RC, and then it clicks. I've seen him in RC Driver. That's why this guy's face is so freaking familiar. Right. And I've seen some of his videos on YouTube. I've either stumbled upon them or somebody sent them to me at some point. And I'm like, wow, I'm an idiot. I really should have known who he is, but I digress. So him and I kind of start, just chatting, and, he was at the time messing around with Google Hangouts where you could go on and have people on and kind of like we can do now on Facebook Live and things like that. You can invite people in and that, Google was way ahead of the time, but it was still a little wonky. So the one night he really couldn't get it to work. Nobody could join, like to co-host with him or be on and talk to him and stuff like that. So he kind of petered out, and I was messaging him at the time. He goes, well, do you want to, chat on Skype? And the next thing I know, I have to tell him, I need to go to bed, man. It's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, right.
We had talked for like 3 or 4 hours just talking about RC, like him kind of telling me his journey and his story, and him kind of asking like what makes me want to do this kind of podcasting. And that's when we got into it. Like,
nice.
I became a huge Associated fan. I bought a 4-wheel drive buggy, a B4 4.3. I had pre-ordered it. I wanted to know everything about it, so I started research. Tim Tunerman worked for Associated at the time, was one of the head designers of it. He happened to be on the Radio Impound podcast, so I found it, and it was a great show because I love the information that Tim has talked about, and now hearing the show and knowing Jason and Gotti, and what I mean, knowing it more, it's not unfamiliar to me, but it was very unfamiliar to me. I was very unaware that it was Jason Rona. I didn't know who Gotti was at all. I was like, who is this guy? Actually, to this day, I think I might still be blocked on Facebook by him. Whatever, man. It is what it is. It's Facebook. But so my thing is that the quality wasn't terrible, but I'm very particular about sound.
Yeah. And you can tell that, folks, by looking at his setup and looking at my setup.
So my setup's not very expensive. Like, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of money invested between the board and my interface, but like my microphones is like a $60 Behringer compression, phantom power micro. It's nothing crazy, but it made a difference.
I bought a bunch of stuff, and then I found it, for me, it was just easier just to throw my phone up and go.
Well, and that's the thing. So I've done MBM on the goes where I've just kind of thrown my phone down while I'm driving and I'm having a thought about RC or whatever it is, to try and kind of keep it moving forward. But I always find myself needing to be behind this microphone, finding something going on that really motivates me to want to talk. So Tim and I just kind of keep talking. He had talked about, I guess he had been on the Radio Impound podcast prior. I was unaware of that. And he had, wanted to kind of start his own podcast. So I volunteered to help him. I said, hey man, here's what I'm running. If you want to get it. He went on a website and bought like a podcaster setup, which is, obviously worked well to him in all the time we've been doing it. He's definitely had some hiccups here and there, which is kind of crazy because we all know Tim's like a crazy smart dude. But technology, like sometimes like the mixing board, it'll just give him fits, but it gives me fits too. So I don't really knock him at all, but it's kind of turned into a rolling joke for me now. Cause every time he starts talking, I'll be like, Tim, why is it coming through the microphone on your computer? What? You gotta be kidding. Yeah, I'm just messing with you this time. Right. You know what I mean? So, but that's kind of where it started. I kind of told him I'd help him out for a couple, get him rolling, and see you later. And the next thing I knew, it was like, hey, I got another idea for another show. And then I got another idea for another show. And it just kind of kept rolling. I think the first 1 or 2 episodes I actually recorded on my end for him.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I went back. Like I said, I'm geeking out. I got to meet you in person. And we talked a lot, on through Messenger, but I got to finally meet you in person at Super Chips. And then just recently back at Wisconsin, where, by the way, I saved your bag.
Dude, you saved my biscuit, man. I was literally going to go sleepless that night. I was like, I felt like I was going to be sick. Like, my entire life was in that bag.
I get a message at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, no, it was like 11:30. It was late.
Are you at the track? Yeah, I'm sleeping at the track. Do you mind going to my pits and finding my bag?
Yeah, just make sure it's there and just roll legs and walk away. After that, I'll be honest with you. Next time, I don't think I'm dragging my car or anything home. I might hand my batteries to one of my friends that I know staying on site and be like, I'll come get those in the morning from you. The rest of my junk staying there. Somebody really wants it that bad. It sticks out like a sore thumb. My chassis is all red. It's all McLaren Electronics and MKS. You ain't going to be able to sell it on the black market. Something's going to smell fishy.
Yeah, right.
If you really wanted to keep it that bad, cool, bring it by. I'll sign it. You can have it.
Oh, man.
You're just going to owe me a big favor later. That's all.
So,
but that's how we got started with the TSR. Like that's I never really anticipated being a full-time co-host, and the adventure and ride that it's been, even to this point, I've been on like a hiatus, because I was going through some life stuff, which
Yep.
it's all worked out and things are finally getting better, and I'm finally at a point where, like, if he wants to go full bore and record again, man, I'm down to do full
Yep.
co-host duties, split it up with Colin. I really do like the shows with Tim and Colin. They're
Yep.
great as well. So
Yep.
it's
I
good.
think and I know everybody that's fans of Tim knows that he's just recently moved to Arizona, so
Yeah, and life's still chaotic because I guess
I
he's been
say
having to be back to California, and
chaotic for him right now. The last thing he's worried about is a podcast, So but let's talk about you. I mean, enough about Tim. Let's talk about this. This is Matt Howson. How did you get your start in RC?
Well, I remember way back when this was before we had a kid. It was right before we had a kid.
Nice.
So I was of the ripe age of just before turning 19,
nice.
18 and a half-ish. It was the winter, and we were at one of the local parks just playing hide and seek in the dark. And these guys showed up in this car and got out, and you could hear the wail of this nitro engine. It just ripped around. I'm like, that's friggin' cool. But I never really pursued it past there, right? I was like, just, that was the first like hit of like hobby grade RC. And I was kind of aware of it, but didn't, knew nothing. Zero.
Yep. Know what you mean.
So a couple of years later, we're in Walmart, and there's an I have it still, actually. There's what are they even called now? Magazine. What were the issue? That's it. Issue of RC Driver. Wow.
Yeah.
Struggling for words tonight. There was an issue of RC Driver on the shelf at Walmart, and the one corner I could see of it had like a hydroplane Budweiser boat in it.
Yeah.
So I snatched it up. Now, actually, I'm pretty sure the cover is Kevin Harvick holding an RC car, believe that or not.
Yeah.
So that's where the screws start turning. I start going, okay, now I want a nitro. Okay, I want a Savage X 4.6. Look at this thing. This thing's badass. I want one. So I go to the local hobby shop. All the magazines say it's, I think whatever the retail at the time was, like, say $7.99 US.
Yeah.
I go into the hobby shop figuring, okay, maybe $1,000 at most. Guy says, yeah, that'll be about $15.99. I look at him like, what? Yeah. Magazine, bro. He goes, yeah, it's, exchange and import fees and blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
yeah.
So that took a duty on that. And I actually, I kind of just gave up on buying one at the time, just had an RC Driver subscription. There's even a couple articles, like, where you can send in a question.
Right.
So I emailed them, and my question got used twice in two different
nice.
like issues, which was really cool, because I had asked them about how one could go about running a nitro motor in the winter, because if this all pans out, my wife's buying me a nitro RC for Christmas, and I'm not waiting 4 months before I can use that thing. It's not happening. Right. So they were nice enough, gave me some suggestions, the tin foiling and stuff like that. The things that we, a lot of us diehard, been an RC for a lot of year guys know some of those things for bashing nitros and stuff like that, or even if you're trying to break them in to keep them toasty and stuff like that.
Okay, nice.
Now, I know nowadays there's, heaters and little hoods you can put on them, but back in the day before the internet was this really, really big thing that everybody was using, and everybody in their garage could make really cool stuff to sell as accessories.
Right.
You know what I mean? You were kind of going to Home Depot or wherever. At one time I was thinking about buying different vegetable oils to see what would work as shock oil, because for me to get that stuff up here was impractical. You know what I mean? Like $15 for a bottle of shock fluid to get to me. Yeah. $10.99 for a thing of canola oil. How does this work compared to extra virgin olive oil? You know what I mean? Like,
it's thin enough. It's thin.
So I kind of, waited, and then a chum of mine, Mike, who was one of the co-hosts of I Made Him podcast, he somehow or another stumbled upon RC cars. And so he called me, he goes, bro, I got the next thing we got to do. And he starts going on and on. I'm like, whoa, stop. He goes, what? I'm like, I've got magazines you need to read. I've been waiting for this moment. Find us cars, bro. So he got loose on the internet. At the time, he bought us Red Cats. I was being cheap and only bought a 10 scale 4-wheel drive buggy, nitro. He bought an 8 scale. I realized as soon as they showed up, I made a mistake. Should have got the 8 scale. We had some good times with them. I destroyed mine very quickly. We drag raced them up and down the bumpity ass road I lived on, back and forth. I'm sure my neighbors are probably sick of us. We then didn't get any smarter. We bought more Red Cats. I don't know what the heck we did that for. And then finally, I got out of nitro. I got kind of frustrated with the fact that, pretty much every time you go, you got to tune it. You got to fiddle frig around with it, which it's still great fun, but I wanted to go out and go. I didn't have, I didn't have 10 minutes to let the engine warm up, tune it so that way I could, mess around. Sometimes I had 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I went online and through Tower Hobbies, they had the Easy Pay system. I ordered myself a Traxxas Summit. That thing I still have to this day and is a whole bunch of fun to drive. And it's probably going to see a whack of McLaren stuff thrown at it here very soon.
Nice.
But that didn't satisfy it. It was big. It was 4-wheel drive. It had locking differentials. I could go anywhere, but damn it, it was big. So I went back to the internet and got myself a Team Associated SC10 RS, and that's kind of what started the love story with Team Associated and myself.
Yeah.
That thing was fun to drive, man. A little 2-wheel drive, short course track, ready to run.
Right.
I took it out racing, and that's kind of where the bug bit me. As soon as I actually got to indoor carpet racing, I was a goner. I was a goner before I even got there. I was already like, yeah, I need a Tekin motor. Anybody got an aftermarket speed control? Because I need a censored speed control to run with my Tekin motor, because that's not going to work with my sensorless speed control that's in there right now. And then some guy's like, yeah, I got a Castle Mama Max Pro. But hey, man, at the time, it wasn't terrible. It did the job. But, little did I know what was waiting around the corner for me when I moved over to Tekin speed controls. And that was, a whole thing. And it's been crazy, man. It's you kind of fast forward to now, and, I got amazing support from McLaren and MKS. I'm very, very, very fortunate to be a brand ambassador for Team Associated, which allows me to kind of play with my hobby. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I know a lot of people complain and don't like the way sponsorship is nowadays, but until social media is no longer a thing and it's not as popular, it's going to be a way for people to do their hobbies. And that's the thing, because I was so isolated up here, for me to reach out and touch people and participate, this right here was my way of doing it. The microphone right in front of me. For some friggin' reason, people like listening to me. I really do love you all for that. I do, but man, y'all need to check out with somebody else, like therapists.
Yeah, that was, so my first trip to Vegas, 2021 trip to Vegas, and I just was walking around the pits with my wife, and all of a sudden everybody started calling my name, and my wife looks at me and goes, "How do they know you?" I'm like, I'm on the social media a lot. She's like, "Yeah, but how do they know you?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's just, And then, like I said, and I said, trust me, I listened to the show over and over again, where you and Tim actually were talking about me, and talking about me, and I mean, I was like, I first heard that, I made my wife listen to that episode probably 20 times. Look, and this is where they said this about me, and this is awesome, and so I think so. It's a wild relationship that we now have, and like I said, that you've had for a long time. I'm just now getting the grips with learning about it, and that everybody recognizes you, and we used to listen to y'all and talk about that you get messages all the time, and I was like, how many messages can you really get? Oh no, yeah.
It's not terrible, and I don't want anybody to think that it's like it's a skirt, like a burden by any stretch. It's not. It's really cool to have them. It's just there's sometimes when life is happening and you're trying to do something and it's like pa-ding, 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 and you don't want to be like, not right now, bro. I'll message you later because I'll forget anyway. So I always go into No,
Yeah.
I'm listening. Hang on.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh yeah, like I said, I've been in many of family dinners, with because we have people that'll come down and we'll take them out to dinner and stuff. And I'll be sitting there on my phone. My wife's going, "Babe, they're here to visit you." I know, but they're asking me about what to do about their motor. I've got to tell them. So it's been a wild, crazy journey. Like I said, one that you've been on for like for a long time. So like I said, let's go outside of RC. So I saw some videos. You clear snowmobile paths. Is that really a thing that you've been doing, or
Well, no, so I was actually plowing the highway last winter.
To me, it's okay. So I've been in Key West now for going on 7 years.
Yeah.
The lowest possible, our record low in Key West is 46 degrees. Okay. I
could still run outside in shorts and that.
Yeah. Well, I don't go outside.
Don't get me wrong. I'm going to be definitely being brisk about it. I'm not going to go for a little stroll, and I'll probably be looking for the heaviest sweater I can put on my upper body. But
it's 60 degrees. I'm dressing like it's a blizzard.
Yeah, 60 degrees. I'll probably wear a t-shirt and shorts.
Right. So, and I saw some of your pictures that you posted. I guess it was last winter, man. You were doing all that. I can only imagine, like, how deep does this snow get up there?
Well,
I mean,
the one winter when Tim and I were really, really swinging and recording, I sent him a photo of me standing in my front yard. Now, albeit I was using the snowblower to relocate the snow, but the bank was taller than I was.
Wow.
On average, in like the outlying areas where it goes untouched, we can get anywhere from 5 to 10 feet of snow every winter.
I died. So before this, I used to live in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Okay.
Texas.
Another warm place.
And we would get snow, but the way Texas gets snow is you would have snow one day, and the next day would be 80 degrees, and it was
gone. Yeah.
That we would never. I'm sure you heard it. Everybody tells the joke about their location. If you don't like the weather, wait a day. Well, it was really true in Texas because
we have that season in the fall.
Yeah.
It'll be beautiful, suddenly get really cold and snow, and then be beautiful again. You'll kind of be like,
what was that?
Well, we've had times where we've gotten snow for like a week straight, figured winter's here, we're settled in, and then we'll get a warm snap for 2 weeks and it'll all be gone. And you wouldn't even know by the end of the 2 weeks we got snow.
Wow. Yeah. So listen, when all this big snow happens, do y'all I'm taking it. No, nothing shuts down.
No, very rarely. Very, very, very rarely. We usually are going.
If Texas has snow like that, it would shut the state down. That'd be done.
Yeah, and in the 15 years that I worked at Gordon Food Service as a sales service driver for them, there was 2 occasions that snow like kind of shut us down and delayed us, but I happened to be off, so I actually never felt that one. But yeah, there was never a snow day. I made it into work every morning, whether the trailers made it into town at the same time as I went up to work. That's a different story. But yeah. We very rarely shut down. Our kids really don't get snow days. They cancel the school bus, but they don't close the schools. Sounds great. It's not safe on the roads for the school buses, but let's add another 50 some odd people that can drive their kids. Let's never mention the people that can't.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I think like I said, my kids are grown and they got kids of their own now. So,
I'm getting closer. Mine are 18 and 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, you don't seem that old.
No, 38.
38. Man, you're getting close to me.
I can't ever seem to catch you though. For some reason, you just got it right.
Well, trust me. Next year, I'm stopping.
Oh, okay.
That's where I'm going to stop. I'm going to be 53 next year, and then that's going to be it. That's where I'm stopping. And then everybody can catch up. And then
perfect time to be dyslexic and actually say you're 35.
Huh?
It's a perfect time to be dyslexic and say you're 35.
Right. Oh, which I am. So it's awesome. Oh, so what's Matt Howson doing now? What does he do on his daily life now?
Right now, I'm finishing up the last little bit of this semester and have one more to go for my video production diploma. And I currently just started working the last 2 weeks at a local Skidoo dealer doing the PDI, so pre-delivery inspection and assembly of accessories and whatnot on snowmobiles, side by sides, and quads.
I was going to say that's them snowmobile four-wheel drive thingies that drive on the snow really fast.
Well, yeah, they got one track and skis, but yeah, they're a lot of fun, man. If I listen, the one thing I will say to anybody that's never been on a snowmobile or attempted, or if you can put it on your bucket list and go somewhere and ride one, but listen to me, go somewhere and ride one. Don't even think about buying one. Don't get
Yeah.
rent your gear, your whatever you can rent it all and go have some fun. Go get instruction before you go out, because they don't drive like you think they do when you're doing 50, 60 mile an hour. You don't just turn the handlebar and no. You can, don't get me wrong, but you're probably going to go that way off of it while it rolls over on you.
So I'm guessing you ride it like you would a jet ski or a motorcycle, where you steer more with your butt than you would with the handlebars, I'm guessing.
It's similar-ish. It's a lot like a motorcycle, and like, the whole like push
right
kind of deal. It's very similar to that when you get into more like snow, like powder snow than on a trail. I tend to ride my snowmobile a lot on the trail like it's a dirt bike. So I'm very aggressive in the way I kind of handle it. I push it through corners more than I let it do what it's wanting to do. I could go and buy a snowmobile that would just go around the corners and shred, but I bought a snowmobile that'll let me have some fun on the trails, let me have some fun off the trails, take me ice fishing, do all those fun things that I like to do in the winter. So you got to do something in the winter when it's friggin' cold out.
All right, so let's not that I'm going to have any clue what kind of snowmobile you're running right now. What's your snowmobile of choice?
So I own a 2019 Skidoo Backcountry XRS with an 850 E-Tech 2-stroke.
Man.
Yeah.
Top speed?
The Dreamo-meter, as I like to call it, on the snowmobile on a lake wound right out has been, I think, 91 mile an hour.
90 what?
Yeah. 91 mile an hour, yeah. So I think if I GPS'd it, it might be like 80.
Still. Geez, no.
That's slow. That's slow. It can go faster.
Oh man, I will say this. I watched several people riding. That is one thing that I think if it didn't happen in the snow, I would love to do it. I know that, but that whole thing of you got to be in the snow on a snowmobile is my almost my biggest hang up with. But I do think I would like to at least give it a shot. So
I strongly encourage it for anybody that hasn't done it. I enjoy it a lot. It's definitely different.
Yeah.
But I guess, the best way I could describe it would really be like, if you were like on a Sea-Doo, but more of like a stand-up one, I'd feel like, because those,
right.
Mine will wheelie and do really weird things if you're not careful.
Oh, cool. Oh yeah. How long is the track on yours?
It's only 146 inch.
Okay. Well, only.
that nowadays that's short. That's like for most trails machines now, like you're lucky if you find 129 inch. Like back in the day it was 121. It was probably even shorter than that way back before I even remember. But
doing the quick math, that's almost 9 feet.
I know, but that's the whole circumference of the track.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, that's the whole circumference of the track. So like there's 154s and 170 sums.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better. I'm like, holy cow! But it's not. It's not just the tread.
No. You only maybe get, but it's significant. Like it makes a difference having that 146 over like a 137 for the stuff that I like to do. And
yeah.
I'm a bit of I like it.
So what's So we've talked about the past.
Yes.
Talked about the present. What does Matt Howson have for the future? What's Matt gonna do for the future in RC? What do you got coming in RC?
Well, definitely getting back on the podcast train, like getting back to doing shows regularly. Yeti B has come on as a co-host and really, really helped in that department, because I can talk, but it's hard to do by yourself. It's always been a struggle to do by myself.
Yeah,
and
myself, it's fun.
Well, but don't get me wrong. When I have something I really want to talk about or feel strongly about, I can give her down and, crank out a show, no problem. But those are few and far in between. And, the feedback that I get and people asking all the time, hey, when's going to be the next show? It's always been something that's been, heavy on my shoulders, because it's like, wow, people really like what I'm doing, even though it's not what it used to be.
Right.
Like it's changed. And that was a big, it's till this day, it still is a big head game for me, because, I kind of jokingly say I'm an ex off-road racer that's now a drag racer.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, I'm going off-road racing coming up in October. I'm not giving up on that bandwagon by any stretch. I'll actually have an off-road race in before I make it down for King of the Smokies. So, but yeah, that's kind of, podcasting is going to be the big thing. Getting a couple more builds in, and, my wife and my youngest want to kind of get in to the drag racing a bit. So I think they're going to take a swing at the RTR class at King of the Smokies. So I'm kind of looking forward to that in the RC side of things. And then
meet your lovely wife in Wisconsin.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So she's got the little bit of the bug now, huh?
Well, yeah, because she kept on watching. She's seen, all the other women get up there, and she's seen like Julia from 5 Star and Bob Hamilton's wife, Marnie, because we were pitted with them all weekend. And, of course she's seen, Lindsay May go up there, and she was like, I want to do this. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're probably going to be better than me, because you're probably going to cut a better friggin' light. So anyway, but no problem, dear. We'll get you going.
And the Smokies, that race, I mean, they have the RTR.
Yeah, so that's why I think it's so great to get both of them. Yeah, DR10s, and
definitely be a good one for her to get her feet wet, and straight out of the box, throw it down and go. It'd be, can't be better than that. Well, man, anything else we got? Do we mention? Like I said,
well, you know what? I did tell everybody on a podcast where I was working on a new thing. So I've part of my video production photography is kind of fallen back in my lap. And I've always been partial to photography. I took it back in high school. I didn't do the greatest because I didn't really like listening to the teacher, but now being older, I realized all the fundamentals he was teaching me. It wasn't so much what I was taking pictures of, it was how I was taking the pictures. And so I've slowly been surely kind of going through photos from straight line, because I took probably like 1,500. Don't get me wrong. Out of that, I think 700 are actually usable. Some of them are just, blurs of the car because I didn't turn fast enough. But I've been slowly going through them. And as I do find them, I have been sending them out to who I do know. Everybody in question that I don't know will get posted in the very near future. But I'd ask that, if everybody can kind of keep an eye out for that. There'll be a new page called MBM Photo. I'm going with the MBM deal. It's been part of my, I still couldn't tell you what it really stands for. At one point it standed for Moose, Buck, and Mike.
I was just about to ask, what does it actually stand for? But
it used to stand for Moose, Buck, and Mike, because, my nickname kind of had been Moose, and, I still do get called it by a few people. And then, of course, our friend Jim, he went by Buck, and Mike really didn't have a nickname, so we just called him Mike. Now, since then, he's developed nicknames like Double G, Gorilla Grip, because if you let him put something together, good luck getting it apart. Or he'll snap screws, you'd look at him and be like, stop, it's tight enough, snap.
We're good.
I could hear the metal stretching, bro. You were giving that one. So but that's what it originally standed for. I've kind of had discussions with my wife, I could, somebody really needs to know, I could call it Matt's Big Moment, but that seems really corny. But at the end of the day, it's what I am, MBM. So
no, and you'll, I mean, it's part of you now.
Yeah,
it's like Tim trying to do something different than TSR. That
Yeah, and I've thought about doing that whole thing too, just kind of going with Matt Moose Racing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, MMR.
Yeah.
And I got to rebrand everything.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. So.
I'm coming up with things though. I'll have a new one by the next NBM podcast. I promise you.
Nice. Dude, man, it was such an honor to get to sit down and chat with you.
Likewise, Kidd. Listen, without guys like you, there's no reason for a guy like me to be sitting here.
Man,
that's the reality. Without even the Webb RC folks, without anybody that's doing this hobby and participating in NPRC, thank you. Each and every one of you, whether you are arguing with rules or I don't care. I appreciate you for participating in it, because it's at the end of the day, it's going to be my little smudge on RC when it's all said and done. Yep. And I get to share that with a lot of my great friends. And that's an even better thing. To me, if this all stopped tomorrow and I couldn't do RC anymore, I am so grateful and fortunate for all of it. You know what I mean? Like it's
definitely,
but I ain't going anywhere, man. I've got something to prove. I'm coming swinging a King of the Smokies. I'm telling you that.
Yeah, that's me. I'm actually calling my new car I'm building an all new car, calling it No More Excuses. No excuse. That's the name of the car, because it's there should be no reason this car does not go fast.
I haven't come up with a name. I've come up with a lot of little corny little goobery things to call it, and I just haven't.
Yeah.
One day it'll happen. It'll just kick me in the butt. The first car was called the Forgotten One. The one that I brought to Oklahoma. That's what I called that car. Yeah, because I forgot about it. I really didn't friggin' spend any time working on it.
Oh man. Well, Matt, it was awesome to get to sit down and chat with you tonight. Hopefully everybody out there got a little more insight of who Matt Howson is. And you definitely, please, everybody, go back and check out the MBM podcast. Go back and I've listened to all the old shows, and then when you're done with that, then go to TSR and the TSR podcast and check and listen to him.
There's a bunch of them there.
You pretty much got to listen to probably 2 a day to get in, and maybe in about a year you'll get caught up. But there's a lot of good content on there, and you get to, especially if you don't know who Matt and Tim are, they're the 2 of the greatest guys that put this hobby first. Again, Matt, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been my honor to get to talk to you and introduce you to people, maybe somebody that doesn't know you, who like I said, living under a rock. But again, thank you so much.
I tend to be quiet until you see me in person, and then it's like, oh God. At one point, I think I was almost being compared to John Schultz, and like to me, that was like an ultimate honor, because I look up to that guy when it comes to being at events, because he always has a really good time. He is man. Love you, John Schultz.
Man. John is one of my favorites. I mean, give him a hug every time I see him,
But thank you, Kidd, for having me on. I do appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, Richie and Val, back to you, back in the studios. If y'all
we know you're there.
We're to flip it back to you. Hopefully they're listening.
Maybe not. Maybe they went for dinner.
Oh my God, he's done with the show.
We're always behind you.
Oh God, there it is. The voice. Where you come from? Hey, the hell.
All right, guys.
Matt, thank you for coming on, man, and hopefully you'll come back again soon, man.
Hey, man, anytime you guys want to listen to me talk, no problem. You don't know if you're going to get a Canadian or some guy that's kind of I've got this weird thing with this like half Canadian, half twangy thing sometimes. It's like, it's terrible. I went into Big Lots across the river a few years ago, and I go up with my whatever the hell I was buying. She goes, hi. And I'm like, howdy. She goes, are you from Texas? I looked at her. I'm like, what the? I just said howdy. What the hell? Like, anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Have a good night. Hopefully somebody laughed. Yeah, Brian Elkins. Maybe I'll call it Goober.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it the Uber Goober.
And
Look
it-
out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody, y'all have
Gotta
a
paint
good
it
night,
green now.
and we'll see y'all soon. Bye now.
Thank you, guys.